Good evening for everybody in Brazil. Good morning for everybody in Korea. Good afternoon for everybody in the United States. Thank you so much for joining our 8th Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. My name is Sujong Ko. I'm the founder of this initiative that I started in 2016. I started this initiative with the support of a few institutions and friends. It was supposed to just help a few entrepreneurs, but it actually grow over time. And today we are celebrating the 8th edition. So thank you so much for everybody to come here to celebrate this 8th edition. We have the support and sponsorship from various institutions. So thank you again for helping us and make this initiative possible. Because we have the speakers from Korea, differently from that we usually do in Portuguese, we are speaking in English so that everybody can understand, be on the same page, and we don't rely on the translation. So here in Brazil, it's 8:06 p.m. In Korea, it's 8:06 a.m. We have people, speakers from the United States, probably from someone for those who are in San Francisco, it's 4:06 p.m. So it's very challenging for us to do this seminar in different time zones. Thank you again for everybody's support. So before I introduce the speakers, I would like to talk a little bit about what this initiative means. So it's in Portuguese, it's called Ciclo de Palestras Brasil-Coreia. So I started this initiative in 2016. Everybody must remember we are in the middle of political and economic crisis. So I started this to help a few entrepreneurs or young people who are having difficulty to enter the job market, and it grew. So I'm very, very excited to keep doing this every year. We started doing it once a year, but 2-3 years ago, we started doing this twice a year. So today is the 8th edition that we are doing this. So I would like to ask João from the embassy to give a welcoming to everybody to this event. Then we have Mauricio from the IBREI and Marta from BR Visa, one of the sponsors of our initiative. Then I will talk about our program today. Our target is actually to finish this event within 2 hours and 30 minutes because it's quite exhausting to stay for more than 3 hours, which is very different from when we did in offline event. So let's do in a fastest track. So João, I would like to ask you to give a welcoming to everybody so that we can start our 8th seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sejong. Thank you, Mauricio, Marta. Thank you for the invitation to be here today. I'm very grateful for the invitation. I believe that Korea has a lot of opportunities for Brazilian entrepreneurs. And the Embassy of Brazil in Seoul is open to receive you, to receive your questions. Please reach us. Today, Thiago Matos will make a presentation about our bilateral trade. But I will not be able to be here during all the event. But you are more than welcome at the embassy with your questions at the moment you want. So have a nice event. Nice to see you all. Nice to hear you.
Thank you, João. So now I ask Mauricio to also give a warm welcoming to everybody.
Okay, thank you, Sue. I'm the president of IBRE, which is the Brazilian Institute for Development of International Business Relations. And it's a pleasure to be here once more supporting this wonderful initiative of Sue. I have the pleasure and the honor to know Sue for several years now. She's one of the founders of the Institute, and we've been together developing this and supporting the entrepreneurs from Brazil to reach the foreign markets, and the entrepreneurs from the foreign markets to get in touch here with the companies in Brazil also. And so it's an honor to be here together with you all. And I hope you have a wonderful event. And also, the Institute is open to everybody. So if you need any kind of information and support regarding Brazil, or if you are a Brazilian company seeking informations or seeking some support to reach the foreign market, we're also here to help you. That's it, Sue. So back to you.
Thank you, Mauricio. So now I ask Marta to also give a welcoming to everybody.
Good morning, Korea. Good afternoon, USA. Good night, Brazil. I'm Marta Michico, founding partner of BR Visa. It's a great pleasure to participate in the opening of this seminar. And at the time when technological innovation is a factor of economic survival for companies and why not say nations, it is essential that Brazil aligns itself with its not most precious Asian partners, such as Korea, which are at the forefront of innovation. Participating and honor these specialized forums to bring together business people from Brazil and Korea is to foresee the enormous potential of this partner. I congratulated and thank my colleague and friend Sue, the initiative, for having involved us, and I wish everyone an excellent event. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. So now this is my turn. So as I said, I started this initiative in 2016 to help entrepreneurs, and we are celebrating 8th edition today. Our seminar is divided in 4 parts today. So the first part is doing business in Korea and Brazil. The second panel is innovation. The third panel is art and culture. And the last panel is infrastructure. So my expectation is that we develop this initiative with your support, that we can have other panels. There are many other panels that we could develop. So I'm asking also for your support throughout the year, okay? So each panel will have a moderator, because I've done presentation of all these speakers and it was quite exhausting. So this time I asked some supporters to share the tasks with me. So I asked a few investors to take this role to be moderator. So thank you so much for your help, right? So the first panel, doing business in Korea and Brazil, we will have Dario Habai, who is ambassador of a series of lecture Brazil Korea 2021 and partner of Sescom Barrio Advogados. So he will lead the panel 1. So we can start now. And in sequence, I will keep introducing the respective moderators. So for those who entered now, just to let you know that we are recording this seminar. We are going to share this seminar on social media and also send to the email to everybody. So please turn off the microphone and the video if you do not want to be on the video, okay? So Dario, can you start your panel? And have a great time, everybody. I'm here to learn also from every single speaker. So thank you again for the supporters and organizers and sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Dario Rabai, as Suja already said. I'm one of the ambassadors of the series of lectures Brazil, Korea 2021, and also a partner of Siscon Barrier. I'll be moderating this first panel about doing business in Korea and Brazil. And I will briefly introduce you to our speakers in the order they will be speaking. So we will have Mr. Thiago Matos Moreira, who
Hello.
is the technical advisor in the trade promotion of the Brazilian embassy in Seoul, Korea. Then we will have Mr. Hyunsik Sun, who is the CEO of the Korea Foreign Assist Center. I'm sorry if I misspelled your name. And then we have Mr. Giacomo Paro, who is also an ambassador of Series of Lectures Brazil Korea and partner of Soto Correa Law Firm. And finally, in this panel, we'll have Mr. Bernardo Mira, who is partner of Grow and director of BR Visa. I will start with Mr. Moreira. Mr. Moreira, could you please give us a general overview of the Brazil-South Korea trade relations and the work carried out by the Brazilian embassy in South Korea?
Hello, Dario. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here, speaking with you all. Can you see my slide? Can everyone see my slide?
Yeah, it's perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today in this event, present the embassy. I'm excited to be here. As Dario mentioned, my name is Thiago Matos, and I have been working as a trade advisor for the embassy for the last 3 years now. And today, I'm going to present you a quick overview of the Brazil-South Korea trade relations at this moment, and some of the work we've been developing at the embassy in supporting Brazilian entrepreneurs into getting to and navigating the Korean market. But first of all, I'd like to point out this beautiful building on the picture. That is actually our embassy. We are right next to the Gyeongbokgung Palace for the ones of you that have been to Seoul. We are the closest embassy to the Blue House in Korea, the presidential office, so it's a premium location by all means. But more important than that, we are equipped with those big event halls, we call them Brazil Hall, that not long ago, before the pandemic, were the venue for various events, for promoting Brazilian products, for promoting investment, business rounds, seminars. We want very much so to go back to that as soon as possible, but while that doesn't happen, we are very grateful for having initiatives like this one that we can keep the conversation going between the Brazilian entrepreneurs, the Korean businessmen, and everyone else. So thank you, Sue. Thank you, the event, for this opportunity. Before me getting into the more up-to-date content, I'd just like to give some brief historical introduction. As some of you might know, Brazil and Korea are actually very traditional partners. Brazil and Korea established diplomatic relations shortly after the Korean War. Brazil was actually the first country to receive South Korean embassy in Latin America, and we shortly after opened our embassy here in Seoul as well. And above all the characteristics that define this relationship, maybe trade and investment is the most notorious one. In the recent years, the growth of Korean investment in Brazil and the bilateral trade has been enormous. Just in 2018, we reached the amount of $6 billion in Korean investment in Brazil, which not by coincidence led to the largest bilateral trade amount or record so far, that elevated Korea to our second biggest trading partner in Asia, which is no easy feat, considering the first one is China, which is our current biggest trade partner, and it beat up Japan, which has been a extremely traditional trade partner to Brazil, so which was quite something. So we know that this is a dimension that should be not ignored by both Brazilian and Korean businessmen when they're talking about this relationship. And here is a little bit more up to date, just some raw data to have better picture the current state of Brazil and Korea trade relationship. As some of you might already know, the deficit that Brazil nurtures with this relationship is quite steep. and that could be understood basically by the large amount of electronic industrial products that Brazil imports for Korea. So by some metrics, even some could argue that Brazil sustains with Korea our biggest deficit by some ways of understanding it. But of course, that bridge has been gapped a little bit over the years, as you can see in this 2019-2020 snapshot, mostly because more and more Brazilian commodities are important part of the Korean economic, but also a little bit due to the devaluation of real that made Korean products a little bit too expensive for the Brazilian consumer. But still, by no means the relation is less relevant. It's still one of our Brazil's biggest partners, both in terms of investment and in terms of trade. But what exactly constitutes this trade? What is our daily life here at the embassy? Here, I have a very clear snapshot of all the products that Korea imports from Brazil, so we can have a better understanding of it. Of course, you can easily pick the usual suspects, let's say, the ones that are present in nearly every single relationship that Brazil nurtures in terms of trade. You see corn, you see soybean, you see iron ore, but there are some elements that are special and quite of interest in the Korean context. Poultry meat and roasted coffee, for example, Brazil has been a leader in the market for over a decade, thanks to the effort of both Brazilian and Korean businessmen interested in developing in this food and beverage sector, where it's probably one of the areas that we do most activities and have a big engagement. But when it comes down to more recent developments, I like to point out the crude petroleum oils section of this image, because it's something very new. Korea didn't traditionally import a lot of oil from Brazil, but as a recent policy of trying to diversify their supplier matrix, it emerged as now our biggest products of export to Korea. It is a very recent event, it's something that we're not really used to see. Also, it coincided with a good moment for the oil extraction, especially on the Rio de Janeiro state. So it's something that we might be seeing in the future. And I also just quickly like to point out the raw cotton segment here, which is also that's something new. Korea didn't traditionally import cotton from Brazil, but thanks to the effort of Brazilian businessmen from Abrapa, the Brazilian Cotton Association that recently opened up an office in Asia, we're seeing it as something up and coming sector of this trade relationship. But of course, on the flip side, as you might expect, when it comes to the Korean products exported from Korea to Brazil, it's mostly industrial products. And all of them are more or less related to the presence of big Korean chaebols in Korea, Samsung, Hyundai, their industrial complexes in the Amazonas state and São Paulo state. They are big responsibles for creating this movement, or this inflow of trade from Korea to Brazil. And you can easily see that automobiles, semiconductors, chemical products, they are in a way related to this big groups activities in the country. But of course, even though I just name you a bunch of common places, the activities that we do in Brazil are far from not being diverse. In fact, we have a very diverse set of partners, of people that we supported in the past and you're supporting now, and we want to support in the future. We deal from helping companies that deal with propolis, flip-flops, cookies, airplanes, furniture. We are really open to have a conversation, trying to support basically any Brazilian entrepreneur that think they have a good opportunity in Korea. And we do think there are many opportunities to be made here, because it's, to some extent, Korea is still an untapped market for Brazilian businessmen there. It's still not very on the map of many companies that want to expand their businesses. There are many opportunities. But of course, whereas there is opportunities, there are also many challenges. I just named a few here. We might discuss that later if you have time. Of course, tariff and regulatory barriers are something that every single exporter, everyone that does business abroad has to deal with, and we are more than happy to try to make this as less painful as possible. But one challenge that many Brazilian businessmen find here that might surprise them is the lack of a vibrant business community here. There are not many Brazilians who reside in Korea. We are less than 1,000. And in the same fashion, there are not many Brazilian companies that have subsidiaries here. There's a few, but it's not as vibrant as, say, other East Asian markets for Singapore, as Japan, as China. So that is still a barrier for many of them to feel comfortable in trying to enter the Korean market. And precisely because of that, we, the embassy, we want to be your first supporters, maybe your biggest supporters in entering this new challenge of exploring the Korean market. And that's the reason why we are constantly trying to find ways to engage Brazilian businessmen to know the Korean market, to find partners, be it by giving support on international trade fairs, by creating promotional events to raise awareness of the Brazilian product in the Korean market, by doing online and offline business meetings. So we are more than happy to listen to your ideas, to listen to your questions, and try to help you to bring the Brazilian entrepreneur energy to this market. And for now, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to listen to any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Thiago. It was very excellent presentation, and I believe it connects with the Mr. Sun presentation. Mr. Sun, could you please tell us about the practical guide to doing business in Korea? I think it's would be very interesting to understand about your presentation.
I will try to share his presentation.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I will start then. Okay. Well, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Chan-Sik Song, and I'm the CEO of Korea Foreigner Assistance Center, KFAC. Oh, who's this handsome boy? Well, here I am. Okay, today I'd like to tell you a practical guide to doing business in Korea. Next page, please. Okay, if you're interested in doing a business in Korea, you might Google it as I prepare for this presentation. There are so many misconceptions, and I'd like to share some of them. It's like true or false question. Well, to do business in Korea, we should eat kimchi. All Korean CEOs are young and very handsome. Just like me. Just kidding. South Korea is not safe because North Korean can attack. All Koreans can speak English. Next, please. To do business in Korea, we should eat kimchi. No way. We Koreans are not kimchi fighter or kimchi monsters. Some of my friends also don't like to eat kimchi, but most of Koreans like kimchi. So if you can eat kimchi well, it'll be easier for you to get familiar with Korean colleagues or business partners. Next page. Next page. Oh, yeah, all Korean CEOs are young and very handsome. No way. If you think like this, it means that you watch too many K-dramas. But real is real, and the sub-drama is sub-drama. So we should dream on. And the next page, please. South Korea is not safe because North Korea can attack. Well, it might be true, but there can be wars anywhere. If you come to Korea for your business, or if you travel to Korea only for 2 days, I'm sure you will forget where North Korea even is. Don't worry and be happy in Korea, and welcome you in advance. Next page, please. All Koreans can speak English? No way. There are lots of men or women who are in phobia with English. Okay, next page.
Okay, wait a second.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, now let's talk about our main survey. I actually don't know if you already have got an experience in doing a business in Korea or not. So first of all, I'd like to tell you some of updated news regarding Korean business for the person who might already have an experience in Korea. It's a key recent development affecting doing business in our jurisdictions. It's a quite long story, so you do better take photos and let's go for the next page then. I think we have only 7 to 8 minutes. Am I correct? Okay, next
Yeah.
page, please. Now it's time for the beginner who has got an idea to start a business in Korea. So we can say it's a basic Korean business etiquette. Those are very important tips. Respect age and status. Korean business etiquette is based on Confucianism and military hierarchy. Having respect for status and age is crucial in Korean culture. Bow and shake hands when appropriate. Koreans bow to their seniors as a sign of respect and greeting. The junior person will always initiate the bow. The bow is usually deep and the senior person will slightly bow to acknowledge the greetings and respect shown. Shaking hands when meeting someone for the first time has become common in Korea these days. However, it hasn't completely overtaken bowing, which is certain circumstances may happen during or before a handshake. To show great respect during handshake, a person with a lower status can shake using both hands, or they can place their hand across their belly or spot it at the forearm like this. So the next one, have your business call ready? Yes. Have your business calls ready for exchange during initial meetings. Koreans love to understand status. A business call allows them to have a chance to assess the title, rank, and position of their potential business partner. Before sitting down for your meeting, politely give your business card with both hands and take one in written. Don't put the cards in your pocket. Instead, quickly review the titles, positions, and names on the cards. When you sit down, remember to place the business card on the table and pick it up when the meeting ends. Please remember age and job title relative to others determines how you communicate and behave. A higher age job title will give you more credibility. Give approaches gift. Give appropriate gift. Gifts are always welcome in Korea because they symbolize the importance of a relationship. However, keep in mind that South Korea holds anti-graft laws since 2016. This means that your gift to public officers can't exceed a certain amount. Use family or given names properly. During initial meetings, it's best that you use Korean family name when speaking to your business partner bilaterally, or when speaking about them when talking another Korean, it's also useful. However, when you get to good terms with your counterparts, you can use their given name. Enjoy social gathering with business partners. Relationships are crucial when conducting business in Korea, so you can develop these relationships during informal social gatherings. Oftentimes, such informal social gatherings would involve alcohol. Dress in professional business attire. Appearance is vital in Korea. Koreans dress more formally, have very conservative business attire, like, like me today, and don't focus on much individual expression. The last one, practice speaking Korean. If you truly want to impress your Korean business partner, you should learn Korean. Even a few words can already make a positive impression. Okay, next page, please. For this presentation, I also asked this to my colleagues of my company, and they talked about 4 things actually. 기분, 정, 체면, 눈치 are very essential tips, but to save our time, let's go for the next page. And if you want to know what these are, please email me. Okay, next page, please. Okay, I can say that Korea is one of the best countries to do a business with these religions from number 1 to number 7. And these are very reasons why I can recommend you to do in business in Korea. Okay, next page, please. And those are the items I'd like to recommend you to start. Please take photos if you want, and it will be very helpful for you to start your business in Korea. Okay, next page. Next page, please.
This is the next page.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Well, there are my contact information. Okay, if there's anything you'd like to know, don't hesitate to ask me. I was Hyunshik Song, a CEO of a Korea Foreign Research Center. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Sun, for the nice and pleasure explanation. It was very nice to hear how to do business in Korea and some tips, and this cultural is very important for anyone who wants to do business in Korea. Now I would like to ask Mr. Giacomo Paro, who is also an ambassador of series of lectures Brazil Korea 2021 and a partner of Soto Correa law firm. Mr. Paro, can you give us an overview about the Brazilian tax reform, if you please?
Of course. Good morning.
Giacomo and Bernardo, who are the next speaker. Thank you so much for joining us, Giacomo and Bernardo. Due to the time control, because we have the speakers of other panels and they have to organize themselves. So if you can present within 5-6 minutes, I would very much appreciate. Okay, thank you so much.
For sure. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I will try to make it full screen. Let's see. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sue, for the kind invitation. Thank you, Dario, for the mediation. It's a pleasure to be here. I decided to take this risk of talking about the Brazilian tax reform. It's always difficult. It's normally boring for everyone watching, but I understand that I would try to avoid to be boring, but I understand that taxation in Brazil is always a key point of concern for anyone that wants to invest in Brazil. So I think that it's important to try to give you broad explanation about what is being discussed right now with our National Congress regarding the Brazilian tax reform. First, I would like to bring you my view regarding the 4 main problems of our tax system. So anyone that wants to invest in Brazil has have to know that in my opinion, our tax system has 4 main problems. It is too complex, So taxpayers spend too much time to calculate and collect tax, is regressive. So people with less ability to pay normally pays more. Um, we have a lot of special regime tax benefits, so it's always difficult to be sure about which rule is applicable, which is the taxation of a certain sector of a certain product, because depending on the region of the country, depending on the services, depending on the sector, you can have special regimes, tax benefits. It's very usual. And finally, we have a lot of tax disputes. So given this uncertainty, complexity, normally taxpayers understand that it's better to bring their problems, their doubts to courts, either administrative or judicial courts. So we have lots of tax disputes. It takes too much time to be solved. We have bad decisions given the number of disputes. It's normal to have bad and good decisions. So I believe that these problems should be addressed in our tax reform. Uh, let's understand if they are being addressed or not. Um, as we know about we are aware of at least two proposals of tax reform. Two proposals that are going to be discussed. Um, they, in very briefly, they intend to, one, reduce the complexity, so it's addressing one of the problems that I mentioned, and two, they want to promote progressivity, which is good because one of the problems is the regressive of our current tax system. So it's going well in that sense. Um, how these proposals intend to do that? First, they are proposing to replace some taxes on goods, services, and revenues. I mentioned the most important ones here. They intend to replace these taxes for one tax, which is the IBS, so known as the VAT, value-added tax. And this proposal intends to eliminate or at least reduce all these tax benefits and special regimes. So we can see that the main problems that I mentioned, they are being addressed by our tax reform. But what is going to be the point discussed during this discussion on our National Congress regarding the tax reform? Are we going to have one VAT, or so-called IBS, or are we going to have two VATs? You can see that we are starting to get it more complex because the federal government wants one VAT, a federal VAT, but the states and municipalities want two VATs because they want a VAT for themselves. So let's have two VATs. So this is going to be a point of discussion. Second, tax rates. Are we going to have one VAT with one tax rate for all the products, all the services, all the sectors, or are we going to have different tax rates? That's a problem that is going to be discussed. Taxpayers are doing their maths, and they will have claims on tax raising. So they are doing their maths, and they will bring their maths to the Congress. And states and municipalities are doing the same. They are doing their maths in order to understand if they are going to be collecting more, if they are going to lose power to audit tax, and these are going to be problems discussed during this process of reforming the tax system. And finally, I would like to bring three key points that are not in the proposals, but I believe that our National Congress is going to discuss it. First, the income taxation. We have to be prepared for increasing on the rates of income taxation, both for entities and individuals. And we have to be prepared for the end of the dividend exception. As you may know, in Brazil, we do not pay income tax on dividends. So we should expect that this benefit will not last, probably. Second point, tax on financial transactions. Our Minister of Economy always say about his desire of having a tax on financial transactions, similar to the CPMF that we had in the past. And third, we should expect some discussions on alternative methods for solve tax disputes, like arbitration and some sort of mediation, and this is a good thing. Okay, so being very quickly and trying to keep on track on my time here. That these are my points. Thank you, and I'm at your disposal for any doubts.
Thank you, Mr. Giacomo Pato. It was very clarifying, although it's very quick. We don't have a lot of time, but it was very important, and I see that we really need this tax reform. Now, I would like to give the word to Mr. Bernardo Mira, who is Partner and Growth Director of BR Visa. Mr. Mira, could you please explain to us the modalities of investors visa?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to talk with you all. Okay, we're gonna talk about the modalities of investors visa. Just a minute. Are you seeing the presentation?
Not yet. We are seeing your screen, I think.
Let me see. Are you looking to now or not yet? Just a minute. And now?
Try
now,
again.
Yes. Yeah, now we are seeing your presentation. Go on. Thank you.
Okay. First, BR Visa is a company that works with global mobility. We have business, families, entrepreneurs to move from Brazil to abroad and from other countries to Brazil. We assist in a 360-degree solution to every aspect of relocate someone to Brazil. Due the short period of time, I will speak briefly. Okay, one of the most important thing to point out that you do not need a investor's visa to buy an asset or a property in Brazil. Okay, to do it, it's enough if you have a CPF, that's a taxpayer card. Okay, however, if you want to move to Brazil to make residence in Brazil, okay, to stay for longer periods of time, or even to administrate your own company, you need an investor's visa. Okay, the first one that I will speak, it's the individual investor's visa that a person need to invest the minimum of 500,000 Brazilian reais into a Brazilian company. Okay. One important aspect of this visa that the person is only allowed to administrate his own company if after the visa is approved by the Ministry of Justice. And then when the person comes to Brazil and apply for the visa, the person becomes a tax resident in Brazil. That it's also a very important issue. The second type of investor's visa, okay, talking about individual visa, it's a real estate visa that a person invests in a property in Brazil, the minimum of 1 million Brazilian reais, okay? If the person decides to invest in a property located in the northeast of the country, this investment drops 30%. So with 700,000 Brazilian reais, the person gets the real estate investor's visa. And one issue that also is very important regarding this visa, it's that the person have the possibility to become tax resident in Brazil. So it's very important to plan yourself before you buy the real estate, before you buy the property, okay? And then you apply for the investor's visa, because otherwise you can get the situation that you become tax resident in Brazil. When you are a tax resident, you are tax resident in a worldwide basis, okay? So it's very important to plan yourself before you apply for this real estate investor's visa. And last but not least important, we have the directors or administrator visa, okay? That it's when a company from abroad, a foreign company, invests the minimum of 600,000 Brazilian reais per person, okay, into a Brazilian company. And with this investment, the company is allowed to elect someone to be the directors or the administrator and represent the company's the company was willing in Brazil. Okay. Also, the person is only allowed to exercise his job, or the administrator job or directors after the approval of the visa, okay, by the Ministry of Justice. And when this person comes to the country with the visa, the person also becomes tax resident in the country. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you all.
Thank you, Bernardo Mira. Now I move back to Sue to start our second panel, which will be moderated by Caetano Alfatin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dario, for moderating the panel one. Thank you all the speakers for the excellent content. It was great to learn from you. So now let's move on. We are 10 minutes late, so I apologize for the delay to the speakers coming now. So now we are on panel 2, innovation. I would like to ask Caetano Altafim, founder and CEO of GoApp, startup supported by us, to moderate this panel. We have a distinguished speaker, so please, Caetano, you can start as a moderator.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here tonight in Brazil and this morning, Friday morning in South Korea. So first we'll have Mr. Hee Suk Jung, Head of Investment at SK Gas. He's a corporate venture capitalist focused on clean tech, renewables, and sustainability. We also have Anderson, managing and founding partner at Redpoint Ventures, and as I know, one of the most experienced professionals in Brazil's innovation ecosystem. We also have Mr. Ji Won Jang, founder of Tewida, is the #1 creating app. Lastly, I will have Mr. Guilherme, partner at Sesnic, Quintino, and Salinas Advogados, who's about sharing economy and regulatory challenges in Brazil.
So Caetano, let me just interrupt you for a second, because the connection is not good, so it's a little difficult for everybody to listen, right? So let me just take this word. So first we have Mr. Hee Jung, Head of Investment, SK Gas, USA, which CBC in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, United States. So Mr. Jung will talk about SK case as a CBC in overseas markets. Then I will I'll keep introducing other speakers. So Mr. Jung, thank you.
Hi, it's great to be here, and also really do thank you for having me here and giving us the opportunity to introduce our company and what we do here in Silicon Valley. I'll give you a brief introduction of our company and also go into where we focus as an investment thesis, and also give you where we focus when we make investments and where we really add values to startups. If you can't see the screen, please do let me know, but I see it on the screen, yes, so I'm going to move forward. Great. Great. SK is a company from Korea. Not many people know about us because we don't make consumer products like our competitors do. like Samsung or LG or Hyundai, but it's a either second or third largest conglomerate in Korea, depending on the revenue level every year. But we have four major verticals. One is energy and chemicals. Second is semiconductors and materials. Third, logistics services and bioscience, and lastly, ICT. This ranking changes every year, but it just shows the global presence where we are. I saw up to 50th and I saw down to 80th, but it changes every year depending on the revenue size. But in 2019 was 73rd. I think 2020 was a little bit higher because our revenue was about 160 billion, and this year we project over 200 billion. So hopefully we will get up there as we move forward. We have about 90 different affiliates within SK, meaning we have that much penetration into consumers from different directions, and that's what we try to really utilize when we, open different businesses. We've been spending a lot more time on social value. We've got four distinctive pillars for social value. One is double bottom line, where we pursue after social and economic values. And we try to share the tangible and intangible shared infrastructures and assets from SK with other society, and also try to build and create a social value community and ecosystem with the consumers itself. And we also think about the global presence to be another important aspect, because we are not very known to global players, like I said in the beginning, and we are slowly expanding into different geographies. We are operating in over 30 different countries, and we are trying to be more globally present by investing more money into different startups and companies, and also try to bring that ecosystem back to Korea. So going deeper into different pillars, number one is energy and chemicals. We used to have the largest refinery complex in the world. We still produce 1.3 million barrels of oil per day. We are not proud of that. So we are transitioning from an oil and gas company into an energy company by constructing more renewables and transferring all those fossil fuel-oriented fuel source into renewables. And we are building 12 gigafactories around the world for EV batteries. We are making investments into electrification and also for hydrogen economy. And that's really the whole focus of having multiple offices here in Silicon Valley, making investments into different areas. The next part is ICT. SK Telecom has more than 50% of market share in Korea, and they've been the core part of our body for software. And semiconductor and materials, they've been a very good cash cow for us. We've acquired SK Hynix back in 2015. Recently, we bought Intel's home NAND system for 10 billion, and we keep continuing to expand that market share so that we can continue to dominate this market with other competitors that we have. And logistics and services and bioscience. Bioscience is definitely a new area that we are starting to put more money into. Don't get us wrong, because we've been making investments into bioscience for the past 20 years. Now we are starting to get some output from these areas. We are working with AstraZeneca and Novavax from US for corona vaccines, and we are trying to dominate this vaccine market under cancer vaccines and other orphan drugs that we are trying to develop more. And having said that, we have 5 offices here in Silicon Valley making investments into each industries. And I think this one slide is something that you can take away from my presentation, meaning this is what we are looking for, basically. We are looking for CTSP solutions, which are customer-centric. Of the whole equation, the one thing that doesn't change is the customer. We got to solve the pain point and the problems that customers are having by providing the technology. So it's got to be technology driven. And the service is the product or the service that you guys are trying to provide to the customers to solve that problem. So it's got to have the service solution. And lastly, the platform provider is the business model that you guys are supplying that solution with. And of course, it would have to make sense in terms of economic values, and of course, also helping with the social values. And you got to know your competitors. And that really comes down to how you guys are opening your business with a business model that's not has been the ordinary cases in presence. And speaking a little bit more from the energy transition, because that's where I spend about 50% of my time. The other 50% I spend on construction technology and also property technology. Decarbonization, digitization, and also decentralization has been the core focus. And we are doing these 3Ds for transforming the fossil fuel into electrification of everything and also hydrogen economy. This is what we have been doing. We opened our office in 2018 here in Silicon Valley just for the energy and construction and property investments. We've made about 10 investments, now 12 investments. I was able to exit 3 companies, and I am involved in a lot more accelerators than I put up here. This is a little bit outdated, but I work with several governments from US, also from Canada, UK, France, Germany, Swiss, Portugal, and I try to work with other startups in different ecosystems to really connect them all, because eventually what we can do is help them globalize and provide pilots and also provide project financing for them to try out their solutions in different geographies. And one thing for startups to be careful is you may not want to work with CVCs at the very early stage, because eventually, no offense to other CVCs on the attendance, but we eventually drive these startups to where they are providing their solution to fit our company, not our competitors. But you may want to have a broader spectrum of your solution to satisfy more customers rather than 1 or 2. So you have to be very careful of working with right CVCs at the right time. And that's what we really try to do as well. We try to work with the startups who are ready to go to international market, who's gone through this era. So we usually work with companies in post-Series A, all the way up to pre-IPO companies. If we sometimes make investments into public companies, but the investment size will be over $1 billion. And our check sizes for startups will be between $1 million and $40 million. And like I said, we like to help them financially and also with project financing for taking them to different countries. So that's about it for myself, and I hope to turn it over to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jong, for the great presentation. So moving on, I would like to invite Anderson Thies, investor of our series lectures, Brazil, Korea, and managing partner of Redpoint Ventures. So Anderson, can you talk about the ecosystem of venture capital in Latin America and startups in Latin America?
Hello, good evening. Thank you, Sue, for the invitation. I'll try my best here to speed up a little bit. I have a few slides here I'll try to share with you. Give me 1 second. Oh, wait. Just a second. Microsoft playing with me here. Let me try again, sorry. There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah, I think it's processing. Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go from the beginning. So once again, the idea here is to go over a little bit of the development of the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Latin America. Quickly, I'm a managing partner and founder of Redpoint Ventures. We are an early stage VC fund. We do seed, Series A, and Series B investments in Latin America, mostly in Brazil. Personally, my background, I'm an investor since 2003. Before that, I had a career as a software developer. I'm a computer engineer by training, and I have participated in a few projects in Brazil, Redpoint since 2012. Before that, I was responsible for the entry of Naspers in the Americas on the internet side. Few of our investments are now at a much bigger scale than we anticipated when we first started. A little bit about Redpoint eVentures. We are a local fund, but we are partners with a global network of funds. Redpoint and eVentures are 2 US funds, and we have presence in Europe and Asia, not to mention Silicon Valley, where both Redpoint and eVentures are headquartered. Here's a quick overview of what happened in Brazil in the ecosystem since we started in 2012. Prior to that, we had a little bit of what we call nuclear winter in Brazil after the bubble burst. And then advertising didn't really work in Brazil. So it was only around 2010, 2011 that we started to see the first companies in the internet really working in Brazil, most of them around e-commerce. We had a very interesting start for the cycle of the macroeconomy in Brazil. Unfortunately, that was very fast. So from 2016, especially, and Sue mentioned in the beginning, with the crisis and the political crisis, especially in Brazil, winds turned a little bit for the macroeconomy. But oddly enough, that was not the case for technology. It was actually the best cycle in our history. So just to give a little bit of perspective, this slide was actually in our pitch deck to raise our first fund in 2012. And what we had as an ecosystem there was 65 seed and early stage deals in all of 2012. In 2010, we had only 16. So after that, you see it's very little activity. What we saw was actually increased speed in the ecosystem in Brazil really, really fast. And it got basically all the bases covered. And today we have absolutely everything we need as an ecosystem to work in our region. And one of the projects that we are involved with, and we are super proud of, we actually hosted one of the events there, right? So it's Cubo. It's a place we co-founded with Itaú, Redpoint eVentures and Itaú, and it's a hub, a meeting point for the ecosystem in Brazil. One of the last things we saw evolving in our region was the big exits. This was something we were questioning, whether we would see these transactions of this type, and now there isn't a question anymore. The other aspect that was one of the last things we saw evolving here was the corporations, the participation of large corporations and them starting to build their CVC activities here. This is now in full swing. It's working really well. Most of the companies either have something already in place or are talking about it. So we are now in a very interesting moment, and we feel that it's only the beginning. So our feeling as an ecosystem is that we have now all the conditions. We grew roughly 10 times in the last 5 years, and we are still really, really small compared to what we should be doing. So compared to what I mentioned before, right? We had the 16 deals in 2010, and now in 2018, we had 30 funds. So if you imagine each of these funds will have 15, 20 deals at least, it's a completely different ball game. The ecosystem is much, much better developed today in Latin America. And one of the latest and biggest announcements was the commitment of SoftBank with a $5 billion fund for the region. Quickly again, in terms of funding, in 2010, we had a little bit of seed investment not much in early, not much in growth, and over time we got a lot more of early stage investing. Then we had an explosion in seeds. It was a lot of activity. These deals are now maturing too early, and now we have a very robust growth as well. So the ecosystem is complete. Nevertheless, it's much smaller than what it should be given the size of the economy in Brazil. We have a very strong macroeconomic and demographic support for the market, and a much bigger market than we have today. And last but not least, most of the big companies in the world today are technology companies that are VC backed. And in Brazil, we still don't have that. So what we expect to happen in Brazil in the course of the next 5 to 10 years is that we will see more and more large companies, homegrown, that are backed by VCs, becoming the fastest growing and the biggest companies in Brazil and Latin America. Thank you so much. This is what I had to share with you today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anderson. So I'm going to move on with other speakers, but what I would like to ask to Mr. Jung and Anderson is that because our moderator is having a little bit of difficulty with the connection, it would be really interesting if Anderson addressed one question to Mr. Jung as an expert, okay, on your region, and Mr. Jung addresses a question to Anderson. I think we can learn a lot from each of you, okay? So let's move on with Ji Woong Jang, founder and CEO of the South Korea startup Teoida Inc., Seoul, South Korea. So Mr. Jang, can you share with us your experience as an entrepreneur of a South Korean startup? Then we'll have Guilherme, then we come back with the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone, my name is G and I'm from the Teoida, and Teoida is a small startup company in Seoul. And what we are doing right now is we are providing mobile application in which you can have a virtual conversation with Korean peoples and practice the speaking skills in Korean. So do I have to introduce about my business or?
Yeah, you can share a little bit about your experience as an entrepreneur of a startup, Korean startup. You have like 5 minutes, very quickly, yeah.
Okay, great.
And what your company does also.
Okay, great. Okay, give me 1 second. So, yeah, I think everybody's aware about these two words, about the Gen Z and COVID, because these two words nowadays, most of the Korean startup companies are focusing on the on tech or technology and some metaverse as usual. So what we are trying to is with these two keywords, we are focusing on to education service. So this is our service. So in Teoida application, we provide some video lessons which you can virtually communicate with the teachers and overcome to fear of speaking by simulating realist conversation. So during these 2 minutes, you can practice pronunciation and speaking and learning meanings of one expressions. So after you practice the speaking 3 or 5 sentences in the lesson video, we drive you to the simulation conversation. So in here, you can have a virtual conversation with Korean people in real life situation. And our system understand your pronunciation accuracy and how much the Korean people can understand your speaking. So from that, we give 2 different scenarios. For example, your pronunciation okay, the scenario is going to move forward. If not, the actors in the video reacting, oh, pardon me, or can you speak again, like this. So this interactive conversation and on-text service, we believe the people who really want to improve their speaking skills in foreign language, but they don't have much of opportunity to having a conversation with a real person, our solution can be one of the solutions to practice the conversation. So we have been launched our service last June, and our cumulative download has been reached more than 800,000 downloads. And since last November, we ranked third in Korean language education application and first in Korean speaking. And also, we got 4.8 App Store rate this moment. And we have more than we have more than 170,000 monthly active users right now, and our total revenue is 200,000 so far. And every month we raise about $4,000 at this moment. So later on, as I mentioned before, nowadays most of Korea startups focusing on the education and the metaverse and also on tech technologies. And TIDA is the startup which is providing some on-tech solution for learning language or foreign language. So we are going to expand our service as a multi-language speaking practice apps. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's move on. Now we have Guilherme Carboni, partner of CQS Advogados. So Guilherme, can you share with us about sharing economy and digital platform and regulatory challenges in about
Sure.
5-6 minutes? Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, I have a presentation. Actually, hello everyone. I would like, first of all, to thank Sue for the invitation, for the opportunity. Very happy to be here. I'm going to share, I'll be very, very brief. But anyway, I have a presentation, a quicker presentation. So I'm going to talk about sharing economy, although we know that with the pandemic has been very affected, at least in its strict definition. First of all, in terms of definitions, it's very, very difficult to have a precise definition. There is no consensus. There is a broad concept and a strict concept as well. In a broad concept, we could say that it involves both one-sided platforms, which we can also call as a business to peer, and a two-sided platforms, which is the peer-to-peer. So let's have a look. In the first one, one-sided platforms, we have provider, platform, and user. And in this model, a platform acquires the rights over a content or a product and then sells it to user or licenses it to user. Some examples here in Brazil, we have Tembici, which is a company involved in the bike renting, and it buys the bikes and rent to customers. Spotify with music and Netflix films. Some examples on one-sided platforms. And the second one, two-sided platforms, the model peer-to-peer. We have provider, platform, and user as well. But in this case, provider will furnish directly to user the products or the content, and the platform only do the intermediation. And so we have another challenge in terms of legal issues. In this model, we also have a situation without sharing of goods. And we have some examples in sale of goods like Mercado Livre, OLX, and they connect people, they connect the company that's furnishing the goods and customers. And on the other hand, we have the sharing of goods, which in terms of a strict concept, when we talk about sharing economy in a strict concept, we are talking about sharing of goods, and another name would be the collaborative economy. It's a kind of a hybrid economy in which we have a market and collaborative characteristics together, all together. Some examples, Uber, Airbnb, BlaBlaCar, and so on. And Of course, we have lots of legal issues, regulatory challenges, and some of them, just to summarize, we have consumer protection issues. For example, liability for products and services. Who is the furnisher or provider? Labor law. What kind of labor relation exists with collaborators? Problems we have with Uber and so on. Intellectual property law, new licensing models, public execution of music issues, for sure personal data and privacy, where the personal data is collected, liabilities. Property law, we have some interesting cases involving new ownership arrangements like cooperatives, platform cooperatives, and contract law as well, in terms of new contractual arrangements and so on. So we have lots of challenges. In most of the cases, our regulations do not, they can't deal with these new situations. And so our firm is focused on media, entertainment, and technology law. And that's all. I would like to thank you again. And Sue, please.
Yes, thank you, Guilherme. So now I would like to go back to Anderson and Mr. Zhang. So first, Anderson, would you like to address a question to Mr. Zhang, and we can do the opposite side?
Certainly. So thank you again, Mr. Zhang, for being here with us. It's really interesting, the corporate venture architecture that you discussed, and congratulations for the work and for the size of the operation that you are running. We've been seeing a lot of activity from local corporate ventures and only a handful of international or global ones playing here. I think Intel is probably one of the oldest. They started here in the before the first bubble, before the year 2000. More recently, we see Qualcomm ventures also very active, but we do not see a lot of global players. And I actually agree 100% with what you said, that entrepreneurs have to be very careful, not only with which corporate venture they partner with, but also when they partner with these corporate ventures, corporate venture funds. So it would be very interesting for our ecosystem to enjoy more and more the participation of large and mature corporate venture operations like yours. So what would be the ideal conditions for operation like yours to start making more investments in our region, and to, you know, so that we could foster the exchange also between Brazil and Korea?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question, and I think you made a very good question in a very short time, and I appreciate that. To answer your question, I think there are specific reasons why we open offices into specific locations to join the ecosystem. And I think it'd be easier for us to enter into Brazilian ecosystem if the solution that you guys are coming up with has the better matching of application and implementation. So eventually what we are trying to do is we want to take the solution back to Korea. And that's our backyard. We got to win it in our backyard. So meaning we are going to try it in Korea first, and if it works, then we are going to take that to other customers that we have in different countries. Because one of the questions that we get from our customer is, have you done it? Have you done it yourself? And we need to be able to answer that question. That means we are going to try it in Korea. And when we tried it in Korea, what rule or regulations is it easier to work with? Is it US or is it Brazil? So there is a bit of a differentiation in terms of the norm and the regulations, and all the solutions that's being populated in each nations has been going towards the regulations that they have in their countries. So if there's more and more communication and coordination between two countries, between Korea and Brazil, I think there will be more and more common stuff starting to overlap, and that's when we can really think about having the office open in Brazil and start working with other startups in Brazil. And I guess I also like to understand a little bit better from your side that you about working as a VC and me working as a CVC, we definitely have a very like similar overlapping areas, but also different aspects that we come from. But when you make investments, what is the go and no go factors, and what kind of advices do you give to these startups when they are trying to go into different countries?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And coincidentally, I was on the CVC side before. I was with Naspers in starting here. So, you know, I've been both sides, and I used to criticize VCs for the things that now I defend as advantage. You know, like I'm sure you the time frame and so on and so forth. So kidding aside, the work we do is very early stage, so seed, Series A, and Series B. So it tends to be very flexible about most things because the business itself can change a lot during the period that we are investing. Even the market focus can change a little bit. The area that we are more strict about is the team. So in the end, the team, the founding team is what we are investing on, what we are backing. So there is where we are more stringent. And the biggest no-no is a team that we don't believe we can work well with because we are in a weird business of selling money. And the only way to differentiate our product, so to speak, is with the smart part of it. We say the smart money, and we all say smart money. So the only way that we can build our business and add value is helping the entrepreneur. And some of them are not very coachable, and they might actually be very successful irrespective of that. So for us, the biggest no-no is if we don't get along with the team, and if the team is not willing to collaborate and share experience with us. This is by far the biggest one.
Yeah, I will definitely echo what you said, because we also look at the team and we like to make sure that if it's the team that's going to hit a home run, maybe not in this game, but in the next game, and we want to bet our money on those team so that we can follow to work with them continuously. And what you said is definitely right. And I hope that all the startups in this session is able to take away from your answer how to really build up the strong team. And I think the rest of it will actually come after that. So Sue, do you want us to continue with the questions, or do you want to take and move over to the next session?
So I would love to continue this discussion, but my role here is to control the time. So we definitely should continue this discussion. Mr. Zhang and Anderson, thanks so much for your time. And Mr. Zhang, Mr. Zhang and Guilherme, thank you so much for your presentation. So very quickly, before we move to the next panel, so Mr. Zhang, can you answer, do you have any plan to go overseas, Latin America? Or Zhang, can you answer?
Yeah, so actually our
Sorry,
service.
Sue,
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So
answer.
to answer your question, Sue, Tida is already providing our service mainly in the United States, and also recently we started to provide our service in Portuguese. So we are trying to expand our service in Brazil also.
Okay, so let's move on because we have a time issue here, and we can continue this discussion. So thank you again, Mr. Zhang and Guilherme and Anderson and Mr. Zhang. So now let's move on to the panel 3, art and culture. The moderator is Sergio Miyazaki, culture project consultant. So please take the floor, Sergio.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to mediate the panel Art and Culture. And our panel on Art and Culture will talk not only about business, but about intangible values. South Korea is currently being successful not only in music with international K-pop bands, but its movies, series, and actors and actresses are being recognized. South Korea rich culture is expanding overseas. And tonight we are going to get to know some of the best case of this state of the art. Our first speaker, Priscila Cunha de Oliveira Santos, coordinator of Pandora Films. She will talk about independent Korean films. Priscila, you can start. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Sue, for the invitation. It's a pleasure being here. Well, I have to start saying that I have a huge passion for movies and the way this experience has to affect people. I'm also very curious about cultural public policies and its subtle power to influence nations even. And that's why I'm a fan of Korean strategic cultural policies and that resulted in Hallyu. And I think we have a lot to learn from Korea in that aspect. Many others too, but especially in this one. And I'm going to start telling you a little bit about Pandora Films. Pandora is a 30-year Brazilian independent film distribution company. That means we buy films internationally and we distribute and release them in theaters. And we also sell them to streaming platforms and to TVs. Our main challenge is to buy art house films outside and to make these movies reach its audience here in Brazil. We have a team that goes to international film festivals around the globe, and it's a very intuitive process. It's about watching films and choosing films that you believe might please the Brazilian audience. But obviously, it's also business, so you have to pay a minimum guarantee for each title, and that title has to perform well so that you can make money. It's a risky and very fast-changing market as well. So in the beginning of 2000, Pandora started to get interested in Korean films. Our team realized that Korea had been producing many movies with technical and artistic value, independent films that were being awarded in festivals and connected with what we were looking for at that moment. And in 2006, we bought the first Korean film released by Pandora. It was The Host by Bong Joon-ho. I'm sorry, my Korean pronunciation. But at that time, it didn't perform well. It was very disappointing. Today, the film is in Netflix catalog, but at that time, the Brazilian audience was not prepared for that. And after that first experience, we brought many titles from Hong Sang-soo. He's called by many people the Wood Allen from Korea because he has many films with long dialogues and films that address day-to-day relationships. He has a very poetic approach. And we started bringing films with Kim Min-hee that became more known here with The Handmaid's Tale. It was a great success. In 2018, we bought Burning by Lee Shandong. The film had very good reviews, talented director. It had a famous Korean actor called Steven Yeun. He was internationally known. And it was chosen to be like the Korean choice for the Oscar that year. And Korean institutions here in Brazil helped us a lot with the promotion. But unfortunately, it didn't reach a big audience in theaters, although we sold it to some channels in TV, pay TV. And after those experiences, finally, in 2019, we had the most successful experience in the history of Pandora because we bought Parasite in Cannes Festival in France, a little before it won the biggest award of the festival, that's called Palme d'Or. And we released the film here in the end of 2019. I remember I went to this encounter with Sue in 2019, and I was trying to promote the film, and I was trying to convince people to watch the film. A few people actually knew it, and it was funny because people looked at me in a very curious way, and it was before the Oscars, so the feeling that I had was like, well, like, who is this strange woman trying to make us watch a Korean film that it wasn't even released at that time? And the film was like huge. People started talking about it, and after it won the Oscars, we reached here in Brazil more than 1 million people in Brazilian theaters. And it was in cinemas in March in 2020, and it only got out because of the pandemic. So for a Korean film with Portuguese subtitles, it was like the film became history itself. And I do believe that Korean cultural public policies and the support of Korean companies that finance the promotion of Korean culture internationally really helped into this process of transforming the way people look at Korea nowadays. So I think we have a lot to learn with them now, with you, with Korea. And before I finish, I would like to invite those of you who are in Brazil and who like art house movies to get to know a little bit about our streaming platform called Belas Artes à la carte. It's a partnership between the Cinema Belas Artes, that's very traditional here in São Paulo, and Pandora Films. And the platform has about 400 titles, art house films, and some commercial films as well, and many Korean titles like Kinkiduk, Hong Sang-soo, Lee Shandong, many others. And that's basically what I had to share. And thank you again for hearing, and I'm available if you have any questions. Sergio, I can hear you.
Thank you, Priscilla. I would like to ask one question. I would like to know about after Parasite, after the Oscar. Do you think the Brazilian people start to watch more Korean films or series? Do you have any statistic or information?
I do not have statistics right now because unfortunately cinemas were closed for a long time. But we did buy some other Korean titles during the pandemic, but we haven't released them yet. But I do believe that we have like a huge, big opportunity now with this success. I do believe that people are looking more to Korean films nowadays after this big hit.
Okay, thank you, Priscilla. Well, let's go through now our second speaker, Mr. Youngman Kang. He's founder of Seoul Webfest, K-Webfest, and a filmmaker in South Korea. Mr. Kang, your turn.
Hi, my name is Youngman Kang. Actually, I'm a filmmaker and also organize two festivals in South Korea. One is Seoul Fest, and the other one is Asia Web Awards. And then also, I used to, make a films, feature film, but now move to web series. So Koreans said the web drama because all the OTT platform is getting popular, and then also all the series. So a lot of young people watch it through smartphone. So I think the film business is really getting slow. Then on the other hand, the web content is going up. So actually, my production company is more produce a series these days. So today, let me talk about my production company. Usually produce the series about branded web series. So which means working for the corporation, the companies through the storytelling or the promotional. There are the images. So let me try to open the PPT.
So, Mr. Kang, I'm gonna try to share your presentation, okay?
Okay.
It will take a little bit, a few minutes. So you can just, yeah, if you have something to share.
Okay, so if it doesn't work, then maybe I can just, I can talk, explain, like.
Yeah, just to
like,
talk,
like
and I'll get the screen for you, okay?
Okay. Okay, so what is the branded web series? I mean, I know everybody knows about the series, web series, from the TV series, but now through the mobile and then web. So that's what we call the web series. But the Korean, a lot of web series actually produced branded because all the creators, they need the money to produce the project. So they approach the corporation, the company, and then they have a budget for advertising, and then production company hired and then make the series with the based upon the storytelling. So so a lot of corporation companies, they used to promote through just the TV commercials, like for it's very traditional, but the people, the audience, they want something. Okay, now it's up.
Yeah, you just instruct me, okay?
Okay, let's go to next page. Okay, so actually I'm talking about the branded web series. The video entertainment produced by a brand marketing department and distributed through the online. And then highly branded property and open label as a sponsors from our corporation, the companies. Okay, so let's go to next page. Thank you. So I already explained the Korean set, the web drama. So there's three ways produce web drama. Self-funded by creator or investor, and then also the management company, because the Korean company is a lot of artists. For example, the K-pop star, also actors, actresses. So they're using those talent in the series, and the last one is branded series. So let's go to next page. So let's say branded web series have a lot of different categories. For example, first one is cosmetic, like a K Korean beauty, right? K beauty. So very popular. So they have, the companies actually, they produce a lot of branded series with the storytelling. Also bank and airport, even the church, the religion, and then airports, also local like tourism, even the army. Then also the K-pop stars. So next page. So this is actually one of our production company produced like 2 years ago, just before the coronavirus pandemic. So this corporation company is one of the largest company in South Korea. It's called the Lotte Corporations. And then I discovered the name of the company came from very famous German writer Goethe, The Sorrows of Young Goethe, the novel. The main female character, her name is Lotte. So the corporation company founded company with the name, and then right now they built a huge over 123 stories building. It's a Lotte World Tower in Seoul. So I approached them to make a branded series with that building, and then also the original, the Lotte House in Germany, the city of Bachelor. So then actually both sides they agreed upon. So I produced this series. So promote both sides, German and Korea, cultural, and then also the corporations. Let's go to next page. And then also one of my production company also produced the branded series. It's animation. It's a Korean like national popular food. It's a kimchi. So the kimchi plus like a Popeye superhero idea. So it's a promote also the healthy food, the Korean food, the kimchi. So it's also the branded series. And go to the next one. So now that project is combined into one of the Brazilian also animation production company. So actually right now we are developing the project, expanding more series with several characters from Brazil, and then also the character, the Kimchi Warrior from the original the series. So right now we're developing this project, and then also looking for sponsors and investors, any possibilities. And the next one. I think so. Yes, pretty much. Actually, my production company doing produce a branded series. So, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Kang, how do you develop an idea to create a web series, web branded series for a company? How do you develop one idea for this?
Okay.
Your company.
Okay, so I already mentioned the series, the Lotte Corporation. That's like a very good example how I discovered the idea, then how I approached to the corporation company. So usually corporation company actually they don't have any idea because they are not creator. They're just like businessmen. They have only money and they want just like their corporation, the image is like out for the audience, right? So our creator's job actually develop like very nice storytelling. Then not only good story, also automatically appeal the image of the corporation company through the storytelling. So let's say the Lotte corporation company has already nice name of the branded and how the corporation company founded, with that name. So that's why I approached with the name, and then the other side, the name actually origin from the Germany. Also, the German writer Goethe, very famous, and then his novel already, bestseller in the world. So everybody knows. So I combine the both ideas. So I think those kind of like a perfect match. So promote automatically cultural promotion from German side and also corporation image like promotion from Korean side. So that's why I approached. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kang. Well, let's move on. Our third speaker is Luciano Candizani. Luciano, Are you there? Luciano is a documentary photographer of National Geographic, author of the acclaimed essay Hanyu, Women of the Sea, on the culture of diving ladies from Jeju Island, South Korea. Luciano?
Yeah, Luciano is here. Welcome, Luciano.
Welcome, Luciano.
Yeah, I think we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Hear you. Yes,
Yes.
perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry. Thank you again for the invitation.
I think the presentation is on the screen. The last presentation.
Yes,
Okay.
the last presentation is still in. Okay.
Okay, it's out.
Okay, you can start, Luciano.
Okay, thank you again. It's a pleasure and an honor to me to be here, and it would be nice to share with you actually what is the one of the most amazing experiences I have had in my life as a documentary photographer, and it was in Jeju Island, in the southern tip of South Korea, in 2017. I was there in Jeju Island, and I was able to go to the sea and dive with the 92 years old diver called Hyun Sung-jik, dive in free diving to 10 meters deep cold waters of the island. It was an amazing experience, and also it was really nice to see how how Hyun and these ladies, which are 4,000 ladies, still dive under cultural codes that is really original for four centuries. It was a really amazing experience. I went to Jeju Island for the first time in 2017 as to produce pictures, to do a still documentary photography, and to be part of a documentary to show the life of the woman divers of Jeju Island. So my mission was to produce the pictures, but a cameraman was with me, diving into the sea and on land, and showing everything that was in front of the lens. So the documentary, the 2 hours documentary, it shows the life of the woman divers through my movements as a photographer to take the pictures. I am like work as a link between the woman divers in front of the lens and the spectators. So I would like to share with you some of the pictures. This documentary was released in 2018 in Brazil, and now it's available free in the internet. So maybe later you can share with everyone the link for the film. Right now, I would like to show you some of the pictures. Let me share my presentation here. Just just a second. Yeah, it's here. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
No, actually.
Not
It's
yet?
processing. I think it's
All right.
working now.
Still processing?
So actually, I see two screens. Now it's perfect, Luciano.
Okay.
Can you, yeah.
So I'm going to show you
like a full screen, yeah?
full screen. Okay.
By the way, you have a comment from the audience, Luciano. I need to read it so that you can just consider it. Luciano, I saw Henyo in an art expo in Jeju. Never imagined it was made by a Brazilian. Amazing work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to share with you some of the pictures from this work. Actually, the documentary was released in 2018, but in 2019 we also had a big exhibition of the pictures in the Museu da Imagem e do Som in São Paulo. A big exhibition, and the Brazilian, the public could really get in touch with the values, with the many important values of the Henny culture. It's go very deep in the values of this culture. So some of the pictures here, we can see the Yoon Sung-jik, 91 years old, still diving, very healthy and very good diver. Some of the other divers I could dive with, it's all pictures of this documentary. She's 73 years old. Nowadays, if 4,000 remaining Henios in Jeju Island, they are almost all of them are between 60 and 91 years old. So probably the last generation of the Henios as a functional culture. They go to the sea in groups like this one, always. 60 years old. It's amazing to see these ladies diving in the cold waters of Jeju Island. Here, 77 years old. And some moments in the life of this woman. Here we have Hyun again. And some more pictures. And now I'm working also in a book, in an art book, with pictures and the texts, with my impressions, field impressions, or my contact with the Henios. Yeah. More pictures. Yeah. It was really nice to see the reaction of people in the exhibition here in Brazil. It was people started very curious in the first picture of the exhibition, but in the last one, almost everyone was crying, really touched by the life and all the values in the life of these ladies. Really nice. And I'm very motivated to finish this book with this great story of this culture, with this intangible value of humanity, a landscape of Jeju Island. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Luciano. We could talk all night about the Henios and this documentary. I think Luciano many informations you can watch at YouTube about the Genius and the documentary and the films at TV Cultura. So I don't think we have enough time for other questions. Sue, you can go to the next panel. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for
Thank you.
thank to all the speakers of the panel 3, art and culture, Priscilla, Mr. Kang, Luciano, and the moderator, Sergio. Thanks so much for your support. Okay, it was great. So let's move on. Let's move on to the panel 4, infrastructure. So thank you for the patience, the speakers of the panel 4, and now Ricardo Medina, our moderator, you have my floor. You have the floor now, so please.
Thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Sue. Hello, everyone. After such great presentations, I can only start by giving thanks to my great and dear friend and colleague, Sue, who I met in college and had the privilege of still being around her until this day. It's an honor to be here today among such well and reputed and so renowned professionals. As a quick introduction, my name is Ricardo Medina. Sue already said I'm a Brazilian lawyer and arbitrator. I'm an equity partner at Toledo Marchetti Advogados. Our law firm is fully focused in the infrastructure and construction market. And we do all kinds of stuff as long as they relate to construction and infrastructure. So we have dispute resolution, complex contracts, public law, tax, M&A, environmental law, project finance, and so on. So pretty much everything as long as they deal with infrastructure. As all, I was here looking at the resume of our speakers. Some of them I know pretty well, and as they are wonderfully qualified players in the infrastructure market, I'll quit now playing my own and then tune trumpet here and pass on the mic for those who can really be and play in the band. So we didn't really speak before, but if you guys don't mind, I would really like to hear Bruno Vernac's thoughts. Bruno Werneck is one important partner at Mayor Brown law firm in São Paulo, Brazil. And he's super reputed lawyer here in infrastructure. And Bruno, could you please give us your thoughts on the recent changes and new opportunities in the infrastructure sector in Brazil?
Ricardo, thank you very much for your nice words. It's a pleasure to share this panel with you. You were very kind on my introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. You are such a great lawyer. I like you and your partners a lot, and I'm very happy to see all the growth and success of your firm. Thanks, Sue, for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure to be here. I think this is an interesting topic to discuss when we are amidst the Korean people, because unfortunately, and I have been discussing this with Sue many times, we don't see a significant Korean presence in infrastructure in Brazil as we wish and as it could be seen. We know that Korean players are very active in various parts of the world in infrastructure, and we also know that Brazil presents many opportunities for foreign investors. I would say that Brazil presents more than ever opportunities in infrastructure for foreign investors. And we have been seeing many other countries' investors being successful in Brazil, such as Europeans, Canadians, Japanese, and so forth. I will try to be quick here in considering the time, but we actually have lots of good news in Brazil. Every infrastructure sector that you look around, you see good changes and you see a very good pipeline of opportunity. So I will start with water and sewage, because we had a new law issued in water and sewage last year. this new law is actually an amendment to the existing one, so it's not a very deep change. Quite the opposite. It's just a set of additional measures to make to create more opportunities for the private companies. And we're seeing the results. We just had last month a large auction in the state of Rio de Janeiro, in which there were 4 blocks of concessions of water and sewage service to private companies, involving very high numbers. I mean, big premiums paid by the private companies to the government. And the most important thing is that we see a clear pipeline, sorry, of concessions and PPPs on the way in water and sewage. It's a sector that is very welcome to foreign investors. We already see the presence of foreign investors such as CPPIB.
Bruno, we cannot hear you. You are on mute now.
Sorry, I pushed it. Sorry, I was saying that's that's an area that we already see lots of foreign investors, such as Brookfield, Sumitomo, CPPIB from Canada, Enco from Canada. But there is clearly many opportunities for any other company considering investing in water and sewage, either through M&A. There are always some M&A opportunities available, but also by means of the huge pipeline that we are coming. Also, when we talk about water and sewage, reminds of waste. In Brazil, waste is covered under the same law, and waste is an area that has also greatly benefited from the new law. So we have a huge pipeline of municipal concessions for waste and waste to energy. That's an area where we don't see the presence of the large state-controlled companies, so the opportunities are even greater to waste to energy, to biogas, or to any other source of technology that will address the waste generation. Brazil is a very underdeveloped in this area, and the opportunities are very good. And the good news is that the law expressly establishes that the trash fee, the trash tariff, can be charged in the water bill. So the problem that the cities always had challenge to pay for the waste services, it's going to be addressed to the extent that that fee can be charged from the consumers on the water bill, and therefore the source of payment to the private investor can be collateralized and can be very safe. Exactly as we do in public lighting, where we have a fee that is charged from the citizens in the energy bill, and therefore the level of default is quite low, and the private investor has a very good collateral to cover for the payment of its investments and its service. Moving on to toll roads, we already saw some auctions this year, and there is a huge pipeline. We'll talk about state roads, federal roads. We'll talk about Dutra, which is the toll road between Rio and São Paulo. There's going to be an auction next month. There's going to be an auction in July, and there are at least 7 to 10 auctions in the next 18 months. So that's, again, another area where we see lots of opportunities, a big pipeline, and would make a lot of sense for foreign investors to consider. And on toll roads, what we are also seeing is some projects where the government is sharing with the investors the demand risk. That has always been something that the government was resistant in Brazil to bear or to share the demand risk. And the government, because of COVID, the government is now being able to share the demand risk. So that's a very interesting news that we saw in toll roads. When you talk about, when you talk about port terminals, the government continues to do the auctions. The auctions scheduled this year for all sorts of cargo, for containers, for solid, and all sorts of cargo. So there is a big pipeline as well available. When we refer to toll roads, there was an auction last month. It was Railway, was Fiol Railway in the state of Bahia. That was won by Bamin, which is a European company, and they are open to partnership because they have a very large integrated mining railway port project. And we're going to see later this year the Ferrogrão project, which is a landmark because it's a railway that's going to link the center of Brazil, the soybean production area, to the ports in the north. That should happen later this year. It's a very large and very important project. We'll talk about investments of at least 10 billion reais. It's a greenfield railway, 900 kilometers. And in this project, the government has also made its part. The government is willing to cover any expenses above a certain cap in relation to environmental obligations and in relation to expropriation costs. So we talked about water and sewage, we talked about toll roads, about the ports. We just had a large auction for airports, not a lot of interest parties, but still a very large premium. CCR from Brazil and Vinci from France, they were the two big winners. And next year, we're probably going to have our last large auction program. It's probably going to be the biggest, the last big chance to enter into the market, where we're going to see the concessions of the airports, both in Rio, the city airports, both in Rio and São Paulo. We also have some opportunities at the state level. The state of Piauí just announced today the PPPs for 2 regional airports in Piauí, and the state of São Paulo is undergoing a concession for some of the state of São Paulo local airports. So plenty of opportunities, many interesting changes. It's very important to mention that the federal government of Brazil was one of the first in the world to recognize the COVID as a cause for the economic equilibrium, for the economic adjustment of the concession contracts. And that has been playing well because we continue to see a lot of interest in these infrastructure auctions across the board. So again, we will really welcome foreign investors and local investors to continue to pay attention to infrastructure. And we're very happy to see that after times when Brazil faced many philosophical, political discussions, we have a very strong pipeline being developed and being auctioned to private investors. These were my considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. Fantastic. What an overview here. I couldn't expect less, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you know what, Pedro? Let me save the best for last. So I'll leave our friend here, Kunjun O, for the final part of our panel, because I want to try and hook what we have just spoken here with the ideas that Pedro Kasabi is about to share with us. So Pedro Kasabi, who's the head of investment banking of Banco Fator, could you please enlighten us, sir, with their ideas and thoughts on highlights of the pipeline of opportunities in infrastructure?
Okay, well, Ricardo, thanks for the introduction. Happy to be sharing the panel with everyone, with you, Ricardo, with you, Bruno, with Mr. O as well. So I fully agree with Bruno. I think it was an excellent introduction. I think all around the infrastructure sector is in a very good position, given the whole liquidity environment in the world. The government's printing money and approving emergency budgets that, of course, nobody denies that they're necessary at this point. But real assets at this stage are a safe harbor for the inflationary pressures that we're starting to see increasing. So we expect more and more investors seeking additional yield and looking for exposure to the broad infrastructure sector as a whole. Brazil has typically projects that are not denominated in hard currency, which is one major issue that typically international investors need to overcome before investing here. And we hope that it won't be different, and that some people in the audience will take the leap, as Bruno introduced, and start also investing in the sector here. As highlights, we broadly agree with Bruno's view. So water and sewage is one of the major opportunities. SEDAI was a big hit. We were fortunate enough to be advising the government through BNDES in the structuring of that project. So we expect more like that to come. It's a sector that's still highly state-owned, highly inefficient, and there is a lot of room for private players to come in with more investments and bringing in expertise and efficiency to this sector. So we're very optimistic about water and sewage. It is a sector with historically low revenue volatility, with increasingly robust regulatory framework. It's not quite up there with power yet, which is probably the benchmark in Brazil, generation, transmission, and distribution, but it's getting there. And of course, there is on a risk-adjusted basis, we think that it's highly attractive. Another sector that we are extremely optimistic about is gas. As you know, we have a new regulatory framework for gas. Petrobras, which is the major player in this market, is expected to break up their monopoly of the midstream and downstream. So this will open up lots of opportunities, and is opening up lots of opportunities in gas treatment, in gas transportation, gas distribution. There is expected to be the sale either as a block or some in the case of some of them individually of Gaspetro, which is the distribution arm of Petrobras. And furthermore, which is probably maybe in our view even the most interesting part of it, is that a gas trading market is being developed. Some of the big energy trading firms are already opening up gas trading arms. Furthermore, we also see a very interesting opportunity in public lighting, which for the newer projects is not even circumscribed to public lighting per se, but also includes a very interesting smart cities component, as is the case, for instance, in Rio and other cities. So it includes smart traffic lights, smart cameras, and free Wi-Fi. So they're very exciting projects. Furthermore, which is probably more of a frontier market, but with huge interest from investors more recently, which is the green hydrogen market. It's still relatively frontier at this stage, but we expect that in a year or two, this will be a booming market, because it at the same time presents a very efficient solution for energy storage. It goes a long way towards solving the energy storage of our issue of our renewables, which of course, as their intermittent power sources, could create problems, but and also is an effective way to transport energy. So this is also a market where we see a lot of interest from investors. But I mean, I fully agree with Bruno that there are opportunities all around. If you look at almost every sector, some of them are more consolidated, some of them are a bit less developed, but I think it's fair to say that all of them are in a much better shape than they have been in the past several years.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Excellent exposition here, presentation. I guess it's even more than just opportunities. I'm seeing really real possibilities here. So we really need to get our Korean friends down here to get this going, right? And to saving the best for last, I like to invite Mr. Kyungjin Oh, who's a CEO at POSCO ENC Brazil. He will speak about POSCO's overseas investment case in Brazil, and hope it was a good story for him and for us here to hear. Mr. Oh, please, you have the word.
Yeah, we can see the presentation, Mr. O.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Go. Ms. Go. Yeah.
Full screen?
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you want to put it in the full screen?
Yeah, but I don't know how to make this. It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody. Boa noite, pessoas. My name is Kyungjin-oh of POSCO ENC. First of all, it is a great honor to have an opportunity to present POSCO ENC Group's investment cases through CSP project in Brazil market. I think that many of people attending this workshop do not know about POSCO groups, but knows Hyundai, Samsung, Energy, etc. Then I would like to give you a brief idea how to make an investment in Brazilian market by Korean company. This is my main purpose of today's presentation, to give you a chance to remember that there is a POSCO group as well as Hyundai, Samsung in Brazilian market. Now, let me introduce you to what kind of company POSCO group it is, and what kind of investment has made in infrastructure area in Brazil. POSCO groups, like the Korean companies in Brazil, is not well known, but has invested in Brazilian infrastructure area through CSP project. Then let's see how POSCO group has invested from numeric perspective. Can you guess what these numbers means? 50%, 30%, 20%, 39 versus 377, 12,466, and 248,803. As you can see on your, can you see this?
So I don't know the answer.
Okay. Can you see on your screen, there are three numbers. These numbers are not affect your life directly, but these numbers have made a huge contribution to the infrastructure development and job creation in Brazil. Firstly, 50%, 30%, 20% means shareholders' investment percentage of CSP project. Shareholders consist of three companies. Vale is very famous for Brazilian. Vale, which is second largest steel mill company and has many mining projects in all around the world, invested 50% of CSP project. And Donggu, which is third largest steel mill company in Korea, invested 30% for CSP project. POSCO, which is fifth largest steel mill company in the world, and fifth place in financial ranking in Korea, invested 20% for CSP project. Then I will give you a brief explanation of what CSP project it is as follows. Project name, it is CSP Steel Plant Project. Owner is CSP, Companhia Siderúrgica do PECEM. Location is PECEM Industrial Complex, Ceará State in Brazil. business
Here,
information.
another slide. We are still I still see the numbers.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Business information. 3 million tons per slab production per year, and first phases of integrated steel mill construction. Construction period is 2012 September to 2016 August. Contract price 4.9 billion US dollars as EPC turnkey project. So as you can see, this the bird eye view of CSP blast furnace area. In this regard, I would like to emphasize that this is the result of future-oriented partnership between Brazil and Korea. So can you guess what these numbers mean? 39 versus 377. 39 versus 377 means a number of subcontractors what we made during CSP project. As you can see the summary of construction contract. There are two types of contract we made, which is one of the direct invoicing and the other is indirect invoicing. Direct invoicing means that was made by contractor, by POSCO NC, due to very, very complex tax regulation and tax laws in Brazil. So, in order to deduct the tax burden, we choose to operate direct contract from main and critical construction work. So, as you can see, the only three direct contract, but the total contract price is more than 70% of indirect contract. So as you can see on the bottom, subcontract from northern eastern regions. So during the construction period, we hired more than 200 local company in Brazil and contribute grow up Brazilian markets. And can you guess what these numbers means? 12,466 and 248,803 means the labor mobilization during the peak point and total months man months. Man months is generally used for the counting how many laborers participating for the construction area. 1 man month means one man works for 1 month. So based on that, 70.4 million men work per day until project completion. You can see on the curves until the project completion. So I would like to present project overview for your detailed understandings of CSP project. Total construction period is 8 years from 2018 to 2019. Site area is 375.7 hectares. It is around 500 soccer field size. Can you imagine that the size of the construction site? And local labor per year is 7.4 million persons. And equipment supply is 1.4 million cubic meters. This is the brief performance for the CSP project. And on the bottom, you can see the main equipment composition. There are 19 plants from raw material till power plant So you can see on the process of steel making. So from raw material to the final production slabs. In addition, you can see on the logistic flow. So the normal, in general, steel mill plant located in near harbor. So we can deduct the inland transportation cost. So you can see from the Western port, all the material transported to the site, and inside of the CSP plant, we transport all the material and equipment during the construction. In addition, for the sustainability of company, we did a social volunteer work for sisterhood relation activities and medical volunteer work for supporting Brazilian local people's welfare. And we did vitalizing activities to pick up the garbages in the residential area. Furthermore, POSCO ENC operated technical school for local students to give job opportunities. You can see we are operating the technical schools. So in conclusion, considering the hardship of Brazilian construction environment, POSCO groups with POSCO ENC acknowledge that the successful achievement of this project could be possible through the fundamental support from Brazil local company, especially northern eastern regions. As a newcomer of Brazil market and strategic investors, POSCO ENC is willing to dedicate itself to achieve certain level of technical skills for the local company by providing additional job training for some key job and by providing technical instruction for welders and scanners. These practical services will definitely create another job opportunity in an industrial area and synergy for subcontractors to make more competitive in CSP's second phase's 300 ton per year in near future. This is the site portal from the general site view, and from raw material and sinter plant and cocoa plant, blast furnace, and steel mill plant, continuous casting, and pulp plant. This is what I prepared today. If you have any question and comment, please give me.
Thank you very much, Mr. O. I told you we all had to applaud you. Thank you very much. Said we were saving the best for last.
Thank you.
So, do we have time for a question or not? Should we move on to the next panel?
I would like to discuss, but because we have no time, unfortunately, so I think we should move on to the closing. Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much to all panelists, and I'm very happy that it worked very well with the Korean and Brazilian partnership there for your company, Mr. O. Hope it happens more times. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, so thank you again for the speakers of the panel 4 and the moderator. So Bruno, Pedro, Mr. O, Ricardo Medina, thank you so much. So thank you again for everybody for the patience. So now let's go for the closing. I would like to invite first Orlando Dalsing, investor of our series Brazil Korea 2021 and senior and works for PwC. In sequence, I would like to invite Sungwon Kim, also investor of the series and executive director of KB Hana Brazil. So Orlando.
So good evening, everyone.
I'd like to thank you for the brilliant panelists and presentations today. It was a great opportunity for learning and networking. I hope we can keep in touch, and it's always a pleasure and something very special to me to be part of this annual event organized by you. So thank you once again. Have a good one.
Thank you, Orlando. Someone?
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Song. I'm from KB Hana Bank, the first Korean bank established in Brazil. And I will be very brief, I promise. Well, a couple of years ago, I learned a word that has changed my perspective of learning and teaching, and I want to share with you. This short and strong word is AKO. It spells AKO and comes from the native civilization of New Zealand called Maori. AKO means both learning and teaching. This Maori civilization recognizes the knowledge that both teachers and learners bring to learning interactions, and it acknowledges the way that new knowledge and understandings can grow out of shared learning experiences. That's exactly what we're doing here at this event today. Thanks to Sue, who brought so many brilliant and diverse people to this webinar. We had this opportunity to share our knowledge, experience, and skills, teaching and learning, and the most important, inspiring and empowering people. Thank you, Sue, and congratulations for this powerful webinar. And take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
So thank you, Orlando and someone for the beautiful words for the closing. So thank you again for everybody for the patience. I think we achieved our goal. We are a little bit late in our time, but we were successful in achieving the goal, which is closing all the panels, 4 panels in different areas. And everybody was very patient, and I hope you had a very good time. It was kind of entertainment for me. It's really interesting to see how the sharing of knowledge in different areas could be seen as an entertainment. This was very entertaining for us, and I hope this was also very entertaining for you. So I need your support because I want to move on to organize the next edition this year. It's going to be in September, October. So if you are interested in supporting us as a volunteer, by the way, I would like to ask I would like to give my words of gratitude to Camila, who worked as a volunteer. Thank you so much for your support. So again, I ask for your support so that we can organize the next edition in September, October. And let's keep in touch. This was recorded. I'm going to share this recording with you. I need a little bit of edition, but let's keep in touch, guys. So have a very good night for those who are in Brazil. Good evening, good morning for those who are in Korea, and also good afternoon for those who are in the United States. Oh, actually, it's almost the evening time now. So, thank you so much, guys. Muito obrigada. Boa noite para vocês, gente.
Tchau, Su. Tchau,
Tchau,
gente.
tchau. Obrigada.
Ciao, ciao.
Tchau.
Ciao.
And good morning from Beijing, from China.